It is the 17th of August, Rabbi Levitt. Gemora today, Rabbi?
Laura, yes, that's according to my husband because we were talking about the Good Samaritans on Erev Shabbos. So they don't usually come into the Gemora.
Right. By the way, your phone is not working.
No?
I called you and I got a recording. It was in Hebrew.
Ah. Oh, let me go and check that. I'm not. One of these shirts doesn't have a pocket, so I around. Oh, so it's on silent. That's what it. Yeah. Okay. That's the sacrifice for Kedushas Basic Knesses.
Right. I do that all the time. Put on silent when I'm in a shear and then I forget to turn it on, turn it back on.
Okay, I see you called. Yeah. So that was what it was. That's why I didn't answer it. Didn't.
But it also didn't go to voicemail.
Oh, I don't know if I. Yeah,
Maybe
usually does go to voicemail.
I did, and it just gave me recording, which I assume the recording said, this number doesn't work or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I shouldn't do that. Okay, okay. Let's say there. So let's see. The first thing that we'll do is we'll take it off of silent. Yes. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay. Now the next order of business is to figure out where we're holding in Bava Metzia because it's been since Yom Hamishi.
Kaf Aleph Ahmed base, near the top.
Oh, that's right. Oh, we're talking about Yesh Lomidas, right? Of course. Okay. Okay. So let's see. Let's see where we got over here.
I think we did with something that has a sign. Um,
Oh yeah, we did this.
Maybe we got up to Tashma. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, let's start from Tashma.
Top
Tashma.
coming.
Want to read? Oh, Roy is coming in.
Um, Perus mi puzarim, scattered produce. Ha lo yada din nafal mi ne. But why then the owner does not necessarily know that it has fallen from him?
Oh, we're doing Gemora?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh, all right.
Sorry, I missed which Gemara are we doing again?
Bava Metzia
Yeah,
21b.
okay. Be right back.
Me too.
21b1, Roy.
So the Gemara is really asking a question over here. Quoting a case of the Mishnah, Peros Befuzarin, scattered Peros. That's what we talked about the whole time. One cob of Peros scattered over 4 amos. And we said in the Mishnah that the din was, if it's one cob spread over 4 amos, the din was, Hare Elu Shalo, he could keep it.
Right. But we didn't say because the owner doesn't know about it. We said because he doesn't want to go through the trouble.
Yeah, so this is very strange what the Gemara is asking over here. I don't understand the question.
So
We made an ukimta. We made an ukimta in the case. And we said we're talking about a case of Mechnashta Beidori. He left it there on the threshing floor. Unless the Gemara does not understand the way I understood the case. He doesn't know that it's there. No, it doesn't make any sense that he doesn't know it's there. The whole Gemara, the whole underlying principle that the Gemara was operating with is that, if it's too much tircha for him, or it's too much, or it's not worth it, the amount that he left there is not worth it, so he doesn't go back for it, right? If he doesn't even know that it's there, it's not doesn't make any sense whatsoever to talk about the fact that it's too much tircha to go back for it, or it's not important enough to go back for, right?
That's all irrelevant.
What?
That's all irrelevant if he doesn't know it's there.
Yeah. So this is a.
I have a footnote, but it's not very helpful. It says, since there is generally no way to know whether the person who lost the produce has already discovered its loss, we must assume that the Mishnah permits the finder to keep the produce regardless of whether the owner is aware. That doesn't really help, I don't think.
Oh, 1 second. We have to just keep reading.
Okay. Ha Amar Rav Ukva Bar Chama. But Rav Ukva Bar Chama has already said, Chacha b'machnashta de vizrai askinan. Here in our Mishnah's case of scattered produce, we are dealing with the produce left behind at the clearing of the threshing floor. De bada midas he, which is a loss with the owner's awareness. Since our Mishnah deals with conscious abandonment, it is not a proof to Rava's opinion regarding the state of abandonment in which the owner is unaware.
Okay. The problem is that why did the Gemara even ask this question? Because we just got through saying all of this. It's like the Gemara was sleeping. Or fell asleep on the job. Somebody's got to be bothered by this question. Unless you'll say like this. this is a this is what you call a pedagogical answer. You have to understand the way that the Gemara works. How does the Gemara work? The Ravina and Rav Ashi, they recorded, discussions that were of the various yeshivas, and they laid out the various issues that the yeshivas presented, and the resolutions that they had, the questions that they ended up with that they didn't answer, et cetera, et cetera. That was in other words, that was what they discussed in yeshiva that day. Oh, then you go to the very next sugya that Ravina and Rav Ashi put down in the Gemara over here, and it doesn't seem like so we're asking, the Gemara fell asleep, but doesn't it know what happened in the previous sugya? No, the answer is no, because now Ravina and Rav Ashi, they are recording a question that the Bnei Yeshiva asked, not knowing that Ravina and Rav Ashi was going to write what they were going to write in the previous section, right? They didn't know about that. They're just learning, and they're looking at the Mishnah, and they're saying, "Look at this Mishnah." They don't know that the Gemara 200 years later was recorded, or not 200 years later, but let's say 50 years later, whatever it was, that Ravina Rav Ashi said, the way that we understand the Mishnah is, we're talking about that on the threshing floor, right? They didn't know that. They just asked the question, assuming that the Peres Mefuzarin was a case where the guy had peros, and he was on his turnip truck, and all of a sudden he went over a bump, and all the turnips fell out, and he didn't know because he's not looking at the turnips. So that's what the Gemara thought. That's what the Gemara, in other words, is recording a question that was posed by one of the Amoraim. That's the way we have to answer this. Does Art Scroll address the question at all?
Art Scroll does not seem to agree, because the comment in the Art Scroll prior to Tashma says the Gemara attempts to prove Rava's view. That seems to imply that there is continuity here, that it's not a separate discussion. Then it says the next.
Well, we knew about the discussion of Yesh Lo Midas, but we're talking about the discussion before that discussion. In other words, we're right now in the thread of Yesh Lo Midas, the sugya of Yesh Lo Midas. But before that, we had a sugya of how do we understand the Mishnah of Peres Mefuzarin. I'm understanding that to be a different sugya. Right. So that was a different thread. That was a different discussion in a different yeshiva in a different time.
Okay, but if so, why is it trying to refute or support Rava? Rava says
that's what's on the table right now. We have a machlokes between Abaye and Rava. What's the din in Yesh Lo Midas? So they disagree on that, right?
Right.
Is Yesh Lo Midas Havayesh, not Havayesh, right? So now it's very common for the Gemora to say, "Oh, let's take a look at our Mishnah. Maybe our Mishnah maybe we could derive from our Mishnah that the Mishnah holds one way and not the other, and it'll be a support for one of them and a kasha on the other one." That's very common for the Gemara to do, right? That's why the after you quote the Gemora, after the Gemora brings a Mishnah, it'll now bring a machlekes between the Amoraim, and we don't know why is the Gemora bringing this machlekes between these Amoraim. What's it got to do with the Mishnah? Sometimes we'll say that, so other times we'll realize. But at the end, then after they bring that machlekes, the Gemara says, "Oh, we have a proof from our Mishnah about this matter." So that's why Ravina and Ravashi would put that discussion right over here, because the Bnei Yeshiva asked this question on the Manda Omar, who says Yeush lo midas is lo have Yeush. If this guy doesn't know that the turnips fell off his turnip truck, so according to who is it? Who's the one that says lo have Yeush? I don't remember it.
It's not Rava. It must be Abaye.
Abaye. Yeah, according to Abaye, it's a case of Yeush lo midas. He doesn't know that that he lost anything yet, and the one that finds it, he's finding them at a time where the owner doesn't know that the Paris were lost. So how could it be that the Mishnah says Harei Elu Shalom? So if you don't know the discussion that the Gemora said about Mechnashet Beidori, about the threshing floor, it's a very good question. Okay. I'm just looking to see if I have any yeah, you could, in other words, you could notice that such a thing like this happens in the Gemara. You'll ask, why did the Gemara ask that question? What they don't realize that we just got through, maybe not exactly got through learning it, but sometime before. They didn't know how we explained the Mishnah.
The problem I'm having is that it seems that this presumption that it's on the threshing floor is only in effect up until it says teku. But after that, it says itmar. It seems like they're not talking about that case anymore. And that leads up to Tashma. So the answer in Tashma is that it's on the threshing floor seems to contradict the quote of Rava. Rava says, Have Yeush. In the commentary, the English says, although the owner is not yet aware of the loss, it is considered as if he had already abandoned hope of recovering the object. This is Rava's view. And now it says Tashma, it says the Gemara attempts to prove Rava's view. I'm confused by this.
Okay, so is there any Rashi to read over here? Rashi. Is there any Alo Yoda? No. Okay, so let's try to explain what the Gemara. You're saying you don't understand the Gemara's question.
Right.
Okay. So let's try to explain what the Gemara's question is. We have a case of Paris Mefuzari. What does that mean? That means that the finder found Peros scattered all over the ground. So it's clear, according to the Gemara, if you find scattered all over the ground, it wasn't put there by anyone. If you don't know the answer that the Gemara said previously, and you're just working with the principles that we had from the Mishnah, if you take a look at the Mishnah always says if the thing is mifuzarin, so that means that it fell from the person without his knowledge, unless it has a siman. So then it'll be harei elu shelo. Okay, so the din in the Mishnah on this case of Paris Mufuzarin is harei elu shelo. The person can that finds it, he can keep them. He doesn't have to be makris. Now, why would he not have to be makris? We have to assume that the reason he doesn't have to be makris is because the person already well, what we have to assume is whether or not he knows that they were lost or whether he doesn't know that they were lost. The Gemora seems to take on that there is a halachic yeush over here. And therefore, that's the only reason why the finder could keep them. On that, the Gemora asked the question, Halo Yoda. How can the Gemora understand that we're going to say over here that there's a halachic yeush? How could there be a halachic yeush? When I say halachic, I mean to say even if he doesn't know about it. That's the Gemara's question, but he doesn't know about it. How could he, according to Abaye, how can he be meyayish on something he doesn't know about? According to Rava, he says yeush shalom midas have a yeush. But according to Abaye, yeush shalom midas is lo have a yeush. So if there's no yeush in this case, because the fuzarin, there's no reason to assume that the person knows about that they were lost. So why is the din harei elu shelo? So that's a kasha on Abaye. Right, not knowing the whole answer that the Gemara gave before, that we're talking here about a threshing floor, we would say that this is a classic case of yeush shalom midas. We have no reason to assume that the owner knows about the fact that these things were lost from him before the finder picks them up. So at the time the finder picks them up, there's no pushing us to say that he definitely knows that they were lost. No, he doesn't know that they were lost. It's quite possible he doesn't know that they were lost. If so, then it's a case of Yehush Lo Midas. Because what is the case of Yehush Lo Midas that Abai and Rava argue about? It's a case where at the time that the finder finds the item, the owner that lost it doesn't even realize yet that he lost that item. And Rava says, nevertheless, since it doesn't have a siman, we know that he's going to be miyayish, and so therefore, even though he wasn't yet aware of the loss, he's the fact that he will be miyayish, we regard it as a halachic yeush right now, at the time that the finder finds it, and therefore he could keep it.
Right.
According to Abaye, we don't do such a thing. Abaye is really the more simple the more simple understanding. Abaye says, look, the guy didn't know that it was lost yet. If he didn't know that it was lost yet, so how could you say that he was miyayish? He wasn't miyayish yet. Even if you'll tell me for sure he's going to be miyayish, it doesn't have a siman. Yeah, but that's tomorrow or 2 hours later. But the finder already found it. So this a classic case of Yehush Lo Midas. And Abaye says, we don't do any fancy halachic footwork over here and say there's a halachic Yehush, because we know he will actually be miyayish 2 hours later when he finds out that he lost it. Right now, there's no Yehush. So therefore, the din is that the guy cannot he can't keep it. The finder can't keep it, according to Abaye. So this Gemora is this Mishnah is a question on that's what the Gemora is saying over here. We have in the Mishnah a question on Abaye, because it seems to the Gemora that we have a clear proof from the Mishnah that Yehush Lo Midas is Yehush. We do say that there's a halachic Yehush. That's why the din is Harei Elu Shelo.
So that seems to contradict my English, because right before Tashma, the first Tashma, my English says the Gemara attempts to prove Rava's view. So if we have a kasha on Baye, why are we talking about Rava?
What does the Art Scroll say?
Right before it says Tashma.
Maybe you're looking at the wrong Toshma.
This is the first one.
Toshma Peres Mefuzarin?
Yes. Right before that, it says, the English says, the Gemara attempts to prove Rava's view.
Right. Okay, that's just the flip side of the coin.
How so?
Because if we're saying that the Mishnah contradicts Abaye, because the Mishnah says Yehush Lo Midas is Yehush, Habe Yehush, so that amounts to a kasha on Abaye, but
Right.
also at the same time it amounts to a proof to Rava.
Right.
So fine. So the Art Scroll. So I said that the Gemara is asking a kasha and Abaye. So you're saying the Art Scroll says the Gemara is bringing a proof for Rava. It's the two sides of the same coin, I believe.
I see. I see. Okay, I hear you.
Okay. All right. Okay, so mhm. Okay, so that's the question that the Gemora asked, and the Gemora answered, this the 1 second. We explained that the Mishnah is not talking about a case where the owner doesn't know that they were lost. We're talking about a case we brought from Rav Ukva Bar Chama. He explained that the pshat in the Mishnah was they were talking about the case of somebody that left behind grain on the threshing floor.
Which is knowledge.
So that's called that's called a Veda Midas. Meaning he knowingly left this grain there because it either it wasn't worth going back. It wasn't worth going back for. Wasn't worth going back for. He knows that it's there. It's not worth going back for. That's why he didn't go back. So therefore, we say, right? He knows that he was threshing his stuff, and he knows that there was some of it that was left there on the ground, and he saw what was there, and he decided to walk away. So it's got nothing to do with the machlokes of Abaya and Rava about Yehush Lo Midas. Okay. Right? Because Yesh Lo Midas is a case where there was no yediyah that the item was lost yet. Okay. Now we got another Toshma. Roy, you want to read?
With Toshma, is it come and learn a proof for Rava's opinion? Or is it there too in the case of the Mishnah?
It's the Gemara again attempts to prove Rava's position. It's on 21b2, top left.
21b2 top left. All right. Toshma, come and learn a proof of Rava's opinion from the second case of the Mishnah, which stated, Ma'as, Mifuzoros, Hari, Elu, Shalot, scattered coins. These belong to the finder. Amay, why is this so? Lo, Yadei, Denofel, Minay. When the owner does not necessarily know that the money has fallen from him, it would seem from this, says the English, that the Mishnah allows the finder to keep scattered coins, regardless of whether the owner is aware of their loss. And this supports Rava's view, and the Gemara rejects this proof.
Oh, okay. So we're out of time, and now the Gemara is going to another case of the Mishnah, and another item that was Mufuzaros. Here it's talking about coins that are spread out along in the wherever they are, and the Mishnah says, "Harei elu shelo," they belong to the one who finds them. And the Gemara objects and says, 1 second, how do we know that the guy already knows that they were lost from him? Alo yoda denofu minei. He doesn't know even that they were lost from him, the owner. So if so, it's a case of Yehu Shalom Midas. So if the Mishnah is saying, on this case of most mefuzaros, hare elu shalo, that it will belong to the finder, doesn't have to return them to the owner. If so, it must be that we hold like Rava, that in the case of Yehu Shalom Midas, since we know he definitely will be miyayish when he finds out, so it's regarded as a halachic yeyush already right now at the time that the owner, that the finder picks him up, and therefore that's why he could keep them. So we see, and the Gemora is trying to prove from a different case in the Mishnah that the halacha follows Rava and not Abaye. Okay, so we're going to see the answer to that on not tomorrow, but the day after that.
Go ahead, Rabbi.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, everybody have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank
Amen.
you.